Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast, your roundup of companies making moves in the stock market, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. We're joined by Bloomberg's equities reporter Joe Easton. Joe, we're seeing a broad sell-off across European equities on the back of these tariffs kicking into place, but Pharma really getting hit hard. What's behind that?
Yeah, Pharma looking really, really tough in terms of the trading there. We're seeing the likes of Novo Nordisk down 5.5%, AstraZeneca down 6%, Novartis 6%, all of the big stocks with heavy US exposure coming down quite a lot. Now, Trump yesterday or last night saying that the US is set to announce a major tariff on pharmaceuticals soon, though, as usual, there's very little in terms of details on that. However, it is kind of one of the sectors that thus far has avoided getting some specific tariffs, but this does seem to be pricing in. We saw losses overnight in Asia. Some stocks over in Japan in terms of the pharma sector were down as much as 10%, and that is feeding through into Europe. By far the worst performing sector in terms of the sector makeup, with the Stoxx Healthcare Index down 4.4%.
Yeah, certainly very interesting one to watch in terms of what happens next in the tariff story. So on the Stoxx 600 at the moment, Joe, about 20 companies are in the green. Everything else is selling off. BAE Systems, one of the outperformers. What's going on there?
Yeah, so we are seeing some outperformance in the defence sector, as you mentioned, particularly BAE Systems, but also some of the other names, Rheinmetall, only down around 1% versus the broader market down 3%, Leonardo similar, but BAE actually in the green, as you mentioned there. So what's happening here is there are reports over the past couple of days that the US could potentially ramp up defence spending, including around $1 trillion in defence spending in FY 2026. That would be up from $892 billion, so a 12% year-on-year increase, and that is seen to be a big boost. BAE makes around 50% of its sales over in the US. It makes warships, it makes tanks, it makes pretty much everything, and the US being a huge market for them, so that does seem to be accounting for the moves in that stock today, and potentially, given the sell-off we've seen in defence, it's kind of rebounding a little bit, but definitely continues to be an outperformer across that sector.
And Joe, very different space, but you also have an eye on ITV. What's the story there?
Yeah, so ITV sliding today. We were down around 8% at the lowest of the day. That was the biggest drop, or the lowest level since November, in fact, for ITV stock. This comes as UBS downgrades the stock to sell. They recommend selling due to two things. The first thing is ad revenue is going to decline due to the weak economy. So advertising spending does tend to track the economic growth pretty closely, and therefore they think that's negative. And also streaming competition, ITVX facing potential competition, so the usual guys like Netflix and that kind of thing will be the hits there. I did have a quick look at ITVX. Most watched on there today, you'll be interested to know, Celebrity Big Brother, which I didn't know was still around, but ITV stock down 5% at the moment as UBS recommends selling.
So that suggests you haven't been invited on Celebrity Big Brother
not yet.
Is that your pitch?
Well, maybe this is my pitch.
And why not?
That would get me to tune in.
Yeah. Oh,
just
thank
that,
you,
though.
Tom.
Nothing else.
I mean, no, nothing else,
not
frankly. But if Joe Easton...
Well, look, if the producers are out there, give me a call. I'm around.
Joe is available. Okay, Joe Easton, our equities reporter. Thank you.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.